Hey there, it's Walt. I watched a client do it this week and I called her on it. And then I did the very same thing. I violated my own rule. I said yes when I should have said no. And it was an easy mistake. It was a yes to a workshop program. And it's a good program, but it's a day-long program. And I knew I was going to be asked. I did the program last year and the year before, and I knew I was going to get asked this year, and I knew that I had ambivalence around doing it again, that my business goals and objectives had changed, and that the program didn't really serve those, and that what really wasn't a very good use of my time. But I hadn't really thought it through sufficiently. And so when I got asked, I said yes. It was just a snap decision. And then I was committed to it. And it's so easy to do. It's so easy to give that snap yes. I remember as a young lawyer, every board invitation and volunteer invitation and every opportunity I said yes to. And as a young single dad raising my boys, every bake sale and field trip and parent-teacher thing I said yes to. Yes and yes and yes and yes. And of course that just fills up our time and our space so that we have absolutely no space to think or to reflect or to breathe. And the truth is, yes comes at a cost, at a huge cost to our sanity, to our productivity, to our focus, to our acuity, to our resilience, to our grit. It comes at a huge cost in terms of opportunity as well. Every time we say yes, we're saying no to something else. There's an opportunity cost to saying yes. And I'm becoming more and more and more aware of that opportunity cost of saying yes. You know, Steve Jobs of Apple fame once said that he was as proud of the thousands of things that he had said no to as the very few things that he had said yes to. And the truth is, we only have so many yeses that we can give in our lives. There are only so many yeses that we can give, and we need to give those yeses to the highest and best things in our lives. And I've discovered, even though I broke my own rule, I've discovered that there are some things that help us to become more mindful around protecting our yeses. One of them is to build in a little bit of buffer space. That is, when you get asked to do something, create the space to reflect and give a mindful response. So one of the things I do will be to say, well, thank you so much for asking. Let me check my calendar. Let me check my other obligations and get back to you. Or let me check with my partner, my wife, Ann, and let me get back to you. And so I endeavor to create a little bit of buffer space so that I can step back and really give the ask some thoughtfulness that it deserves. The other thing I endeavor to do, not always successfully, but I endeavor to do, is to run it through a matrix, a decision matrix. First of all, with respect to business, is this an RGA or something that's directly related to an RGA? Those of you who work with me know what that means, revenue generating activity. Is it something that really contributes to the bottom line of the business? And I also ask myself, will this opportunity be something that impacts the big rocks, as Stephen Covey might say, you know, those few things that lead to the big outcomes? Is this one of those things that will really move the dial in the business? And then another question I try to ask is, you know, looking back from 1 year or 3 years or 5 years, will this be something that I look back on as having made a huge difference to sit on this committee or to do this program? Will it really have made a difference? And then there's another matrix that I run that decision through. does it serve what I truly value? You know, if I value freedom as I do, does this commitment serve that value? If I really value health and wellness as I do, does it serve that value? If I really value time and space to connect with Anne and to connect with the outdoors and the land, does it serve that value? And so by stepping back, I allow myself some time to put that ask through those decision matrices and come up with a much more thoughtful and deliberate response. And then to go back and, if the answer is yes, to say yes wholeheartedly. And if the answer is no, to say it artfully and kindly and mindfully. Thank you so much for asking, but it's just not the right time right now. Thank you so much. Have you thought about so-and-so, to ask her or to ask him? So life is short and the sands of time run so quickly through the glass, and the opportunities to really pay attention to those things that matter most are so precious. Our time is so precious, and we so dilute ourselves and our resources by constantly saying yes. We spread ourselves so thin, and we're always so breathless when we're in that habit of saying yes, when we really should be saying no. No is hard, but no is perhaps one of the most powerful words we can learn to use to protect those things that matter most. Make it a great rest of the day, great rest of the week. Talk soon.